ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. First of all, best wishes for Mahashivratri to every one of you and all your families. And let's pray to the Lord Shiva for our well-being and his blessings. And now we'll start chapter 18. We actually started it, but we just what we call took a few steps before that. So we will formally start the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita today. That is the chapter 18. And we will start with the last question of Arjun in his dialogue with Lord Krishna. And we must remember that this dialogue is taking place in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So the troops are standing on the two sides, and Arjun with Lord Krishna is in the middle of the battlefield, and they are having this dialogue. Arjun bole, "Hey Mahabaho, हे अंतर्यामिन, हे वासुदेव, मैं संन्यास और त्याग के तत्व को पृथक पृथक जानना चाहता हूं." Now we will see how Arjun is not able to understand what Lord Krishna told earlier, and therefore he is asking this question again. Because it's not that easy for an ordinary being to understand the essence of these teachings. And therefore the clarity of mind is not coming in one go. One has to clear the doubts again and again. And that is what Arjun is trying to do here. We will see that in the beginning of chapter 6, verse number 1 and 2, this is precisely what Lord Krishna had explained to him. But obviously this was not very, clear to Arjun, and therefore he wanted to know it again. Sannyas or tyag. We also have this doubt that when you abandon all the needs, all the the worldly requirements, and live a life of detached person, that is one way, and you become a sannyasi, or you take shelter in an ashram or in a secluded place, both amount to be the same thing. And that is why Arjun is asking this question, that this to me, obviously he felt that they are similar, and therefore please clarify the difference between the two. This is what he's asking. Now we will take the first verse and then we'll go to chapter 6. Or rather, let's go to chapter 6 first, and then we will take the response of Lord Krishna here. Now, in chapter 6, verse number 1, Lord Krishna said, "जो पुरुष कर्म फल का आश्रय न लेकर करने योग्य कर्म करता है, वह सन्यासी तथा योगी है, और केवल अग्नि का त्याग करने वाला सन्यासी नहीं है, केवल क्रियाओं का त्याग करने वाला भी योगी नहीं है." It is very clear here. Lord Krishna says that if you are not attached to the outcome of your action, then you are sannyasi and yogi. He has further clarified this in verse number 2 of chapter 6. हे अर्जुन, जिसको संन्यास ऐसा कहते हैं उसी को तू योग जान, क्योंकि संकल्पों का त्याग न करने वाला कोई भी पुरुष योगी नहीं होता। संकल्पों का त्याग, संकल्पों का मीन्स हियर द मीनिंग इज दैट दोज हु हैव desire for outcome or fruit, that this is what will come out of my action, such people cannot be sannyasi or yogi. This is what Lord Krishna clarified at that time. And now, in response to the question from Arjun, he is actually giving a detailed explanation of this process. Now let's go to verse number 2. श्री कृष्ण भगवान बोले, कितने ही पंडित जन तो काम्य कर्मों के त्याग को संन्यास कहते हैं, तथा दूसरे विचार कुशल पुरुष सब कर्मों के फल को त्याग कहते हैं और सन्यासी मानते हैं. Now, Lord Krishna is not giving his viewpoint. You see, he is such a good teacher that he wants to take into the Shastras and the opinions expressed by wise people in variety of ways and bring that into the discussion, which he did earlier also on many occasions. And then he is explaining what he meant by all this. So here he is saying that कितने ही पंडित जन तो काम्य कर्मों के त्याग को संन्यास कहते हैं. Now here there is a word kamya karma. The Sanskrit word is kamyanam karmana sannyasam. Now kamyanam karmana, kamya karma. Now it is, to my understanding and to the understanding of some others, these are those karma which arise out of kamna. You have certain desires. Out of those desires, these actions arise. And that is why they are defined as kamya karma. Broadly, the karma have been defined into 5 different categories. The first category is nitya karma. Nitya karma is the essential activities of the body. You get up in the morning, you go and evacuate, you take your shower, you pray to the Almighty. So these are daily routine karmas which you perform, for which no special reference is needed, because these are karma which are actually prompted by our body system, by the vehicle which we carry. The body is our vehicle. The vehicle requires these daily routine things which we need to perform. The second is what we call naimittik karma. Naimittik karma is those karma which you do not perform on daily basis, but you perform on special occasions. For example, on a festival day, or like yesterday was Mahashivratri, or you are traveling somewhere, in a special group. So there may be certain actions those are required due to those special circumstances in which you are. So these are the actions which are needed to fulfill the obligations of the special, context, the place and time and the context which makes it necessary. Then third is kamya karma, the karma which arises out of our desires. For example, I want to become a rich person. I want to start a new business. Obviously, the new business will require me to do certain actions. So that will be karma karma. I want to construct a new house. Obviously, that will require me to do certain actions that would be karma karma. So karma karma are those which are actually prompted due to certain desires which you want to fulfill. So this is the third category of karma. The fourth category of karma is those karma which are mandated by the body requirements. The body requirement mandate two things. One is the nitya karma which you do every day. The second is like hunger. Hunger is a requirement of the body, and therefore you perform certain actions to quench or to satisfy that hunger. So you have to earn money, you have to prepare food, and you have to, for example, you are feeling cold, so you have to put on clothing, so you have to buy clothing. So those are what we call आवश्यक body कर्म. Body के लिए जो जरूरत है, essential nature of actions which are required keep the body in order. Now there's a slight difference between nityakam. Nityakam are done on daily basis, while avashyak karm or the essential comes which we are required to do, they may not be on daily basis, they may be on periodic basis, but basically they refer to the same thing. And then one another last category is the prayashchit karm, the karm which you do to, what, if you have done some wrong in the past, to in order to rectify that wrong you do certain karma, so that is called prayashchit karma. So we can categorize them in four categories basically. That is kamya karma, nitya and essential karma, that is a body related karma. And the third one is those when you are under special requirements of festivities or travel or some other regions. And then, of course, the prayashchit karma. So here, Lord Krishna is referring to the kamya karma, the actions which are required to be fulfilled, to be done to fulfill certain desires. So here he says, kuch panditajan, some wise people tell that we should abandon these karma. Those karmas are not needed because they arise out of your desires. And since desires are infinite, they keep arising and perhaps in multiple order. And therefore, it is not needed to fulfill these actions. And those who abandon these actions, those who abandon those desires, those people will be considered as sannyasi. This is one explanation. The second explanation is that some vichar kushal puruष सब कर्मों के फल को त्याग कहते हैं. That you don't have to abandon any action, but you abandon the desire to have the outcome of those actions. You do not expect anything out of those actions. Your expectations are zero. So if your expectations are zero and you are doing whatever is required to be done, then you are still sannyasi. So this is the second, proposition which Lord Krishna has proposed based on the opinion of the wise. Actually, the second one is also the proposition of Lord Krishna, but he will explain that slowly later on. Then verse number 3. कई एक विद्वान ऐसा कहते हैं कि कर्म मात्र दोष युक्त है, कर्म मात्र दोष युक्त है, इसलिए सब कर्मों को त्याग देना चाहिए. Now this is another viewpoint, that all the actions will ultimately bring some fruits, and then you will be required to come back into this, world to to take the consequence of those karmas. So it is better to give up all the karmas. But this also Lord Krishna has said in the past, in chapter 3, that you cannot abandon all the karmas. It is not possible. The life is designed in such a way that you cannot abandon all the karmas. But he is explaining the viewpoint of some people that they desire that all the actions should be abandoned, should not be undertaken. And then he's saying the fourth category of people who say that यज्ञ दान तप रूप कर्म त्याग करने के योग्य नहीं होते. They should not be abandoned. These three words, yajna, dan and tap, these are very important words to understand the entire philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. We talked about this briefly earlier. So these are the karmas which should not be abandoned. This is the fourth opinion. These are the four different views expressed. Now let's go to chapter 3 briefly to understand when Lord Krishna said that you cannot abandon all the karmas. It is not possible. Now let us see where is that particular verse. Yeah, it is here. Verse number 4. मनुष्य न तो कर्मों का आरंभ किए बिना निष्कर्मता को प्राप्त होता है, यानी योग निष्ठा को प्राप्त होता है, और न कर्मों के केवल त्याग मात्र से सिद्धि को या सांख्य निष्ठा को प्राप्त होता है. Then he has also said in one place that सब कर्मों का त्याग असंभव है, because the life is designed in such a way. So this whole question which has been debated in chapter 3 and briefly in chapter 6 has come back here for detailed discussion. So now this is also our question. Our question is what karma we should do and what karma we should not do. These are different variations which Lord Krishna has given of the wise people, and now he will advise us what karma should be done and what karma should not be done. So we will understand Yajna Dan Tap in detail slightly later. Now verse number 4. Here पुरुष श्रेष्ठ अर्जुन, संन्यास और त्याग इन दोनों में ही पहले त्याग के विषय में तू मेरा निश्चय सुन. त्याग के विषय में फर्स्ट ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट त्याग, क्योंकि त्याग सात्विक, राजस और तामस तीन प्रकार का कहा गया है. नाउ ही हैज ब्रॉट दोस थ्री क्वालिटीज ऑफ नेचर एंड ही इज सेइंग दैट इवन त्याग, we feel the tyagi admi cannot be tamasic, but again tyagi can also be tamasic. Tyagi can be sattvic, tyagi can be rajasic. So this question comes up again here. He says that the tyag ke bare mein, you listen my views on tyag, and tyag is actually is possible in three different variations, that is sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. So now let's listen what he says in this respect. Verse number 5. यज्ञ दान और तप रूप कर्म त्याग करने के योग्य नहीं है, बल्कि वह तो आवश्यक कर्तव्य है, वह करना ही चाहिए। क्योंकि यज्ञ, दान और तप, ये तीनों ही कर्म बुद्धिमान पुरुषों को पवित्र करने के लिए होते हैं। नाउ दिस इज a very fundamental phrase here which we should understand. What is yajna, dan and tap? We discussed it briefly earlier, but let us, go in slightly more detailed explanation of yajna, dan and tap. Yajna is not the one which is, by putting havis into the fire. That is havan. Yajna is all the activities which we do in our lifetime from birth till death, which are performed in accordance to the laws of nature. That is one explanation. And the second one, according to the prescription of the Shastras. There are two varieties of yajna. All activities which you do in accordance to the laws of nature. For example, if it is cold outside and you are wearing warm clothes, that is yajna. To protect yourself, this is in accordance to the law of the nature. You must do that because this is important for you to do this to safeguard your body mind complex. This is a natural requirement. Now, if you have waste inside, you need to evacuate. It is a body requirement. You must do that. This is also a nature's task. So this is also a yajna in certain ways. So all essential activities which we performed every day, for example, to satisfy our hunger, we cook food and we eat. That is also yajna. Yajna in broader sense is a combination of Som and Agni. Now I cannot explain Som in English. Agni is Som and Agni, they come together and then the yajna is performed. It could be in variety of ways. When, for example, let's take the natural process of rainfall. With the heat of the sun, the water goes up. It becomes into clouds. The clouds are formed. Then the wind takes them here and there, and again, because of the variation in the temperature, the water starts coming down in the form of rain and snow. Now, this whole process is Som and Agni, heat and variation in temperature. Heat and you can call it cold, heat and cold, or heat and variation in temperature. This process is working everywhere in our life. In every action we do, this process is in operation. Whether when we eat food, then also there is fire inside the body which takes the food becomes the som, the fire is the agni, and then it dissolves and converts into a body. When the food digesting inside, again the heat works and the rest of the uh, parts which are not digested, they come out and they come out as a stool. That is again process of agni and som. When we put on warm clothes in winter, it's again agni and som. When we put on cold clothes or light clothes in summer, again it is the combination of heat and agni and som. So the agni and som can be seen in variety of ways. Every single activity we do in life. And if these activities are done in accordance to the law of the nature or in accordance to the prescriptions of the Shastra, then it is called yajna. But if it is done in contravention of the two, then it is not yajna. For example, you are wearing cold, very light clothes in winter, then it is not yajna. It is punishment. You are going against the law of the nature. When you start swimming upward into the river, then it is against the law of nature. Again, you are not performing the yajna. Yajna means to flow in accordance to the law of the nature. For example, when you throw a stone up, because of the Gurutvakarsan force, the stone comes down. That is the law of the nature. If that force is not there, the stone will keep going up and God knows where it for infinite number of years and time it will continue to rise up and up. So there are certain forces of the nature which are operating, which are regulating our life, which are regulating all the physical needs, and therefore we should follow those norms of the nature, and we should be performing yajna. That is yajna. For example, you follow the traffic rules on the road. Now that is performing a yajna. You are not contravening. But when you violate, you create conflict. As soon as you violate the law of nature, you create a conflict. Like you violate a traffic rule and you create a conflict. So the conflict arises, all the sanghars, all the frictions arise because of violation of the law of nature. Similarly, when you violate the law prescribed by shastras, then again we are creating a situation of conflict. Now that is yajna. Then dan. Dan is to donate or to give others whatever you have. If you are ready to share with the rest, then you are multiplying it. It is, when you have happiness, you share your happiness with the rest, you are making them happy. If you have a lot of wealth and if you share that wealth with people who are deprived, then obviously you are spreading the happiness, they feel happy. So you are actually distributing happiness by donating. And your own expansion happens, others are happy, and you are creating a situation which is positive, which is pleasant, which is creative for everybody. So that is dan is necessary. And those who do not donate, they become absolutely inferior inside. Their inner self gets smaller and smaller over time for those people who have wealth but they are not distributing it. If you don't have, obviously you cannot distribute. But if you have and if you are still not distributing, then you are making your inner soul smaller and smaller and smaller. You can feel it, and this is how it happens. And then we talked about tap. Tap is a sort of, harsh work, even to the extent of punishing yourself for certain purifications, for attaining certain goodness. For example, some person have become addicted to alcohol. Now, to give up that alcohol, you need to do tap. You need, first of all, you need a firm resolve and then a strong desire to give it up. Now you are doing it. Initially, you will have pain in the body, but ultimately, it will give you a lot of happiness. It will give you health and happiness both. So, up is basically to get rid of the wrongs which you have done or wrong habits which you have cultivated over time in your body system. So, these three actions are as important today as they were in the past. Only the nomenclature differs. When you talk about yajna, dan, and tap, people may not understand them properly. But these are the three activities which we should perform in our daily life whenever we can. this is what Lord Krishna is saying, that यज्ञ दान और तप ये त्यागने के नहीं है, इनको they should not be abandoned. Instead, these are the duty, these are the essential duty of every one of us, and we should perform them. And these three will provide purity to all those people who are performing them. It will add to their purity. It will add to their, spiritual life. So yajna, dan and tap we should not abandon. Whenever we have a chance, we must perform these three karmas. This is what Lord Krishna is saying. Now, verse number 6. इसलिए हे पार्थ, इन यज्ञ दान और तप रूप कर्मों को तथा और भी संपूर्ण कर्तव्य कर्मों को आसक्ति और फलों का त्याग करके अवश्य करना चाहिए. ये मेरा निश्चय किया हुआ उत्तम मत है. Now, if you look at the life of Lord Krishna himself, you will feel that he never abandoned any action. He was deeply involved and engaged in the world. It appears that he was deeply involved and engaged. But he was doing it selflessly, without any attachment, without any desire, without any expectation out of it. This is what he's saying, that we should perform yajna, dan and tap and other actions which are required to be done. He has added there further down. फलों को और संपूर्ण कर्तव्य कर्मों को, and all the essential duties which we are required to perform as a human being. We should perform all these activities, but without attachment, without expectation, without waiting for the outcome of those things. Then you are performing your tyag. So tyag doesn't mean that you go away from the action. No. You remain engaged in the action. And you must remain engaged in at least three actions, that is yajna, dan and tap. Those you must not abandon. And what you abandon? Abandon the outcome, abandon the attachment to everything which comes in the play. So this is what Lord Krishna, this is actually the crux. It gives us a clear idea what we should do in our life, what actions we should perform. We should perform all the actions which are desirable. But in particular, we must perform yajna, dan and tap. If you are violating the laws of nature, if you are violating the prescriptions of the Shastras, then you are not performing your duty. These are the actions we must perform. And indirectly, he is telling Arjun that fighting this war is yajna for you. It is a yajna for Arjun. Because as Kshatriya, it is his duty to fight a war against adharma, against immorality, against unethical forces, against those who are committing crimes. So you must fight a war to protect the good, to destroy the evil, and that is your karma. That is what yajna is all about. So Krishna is indirectly telling Arjuna that this is for you essential thing to do. This is your yajna. Don't run away from this. And he is telling him that come back, take your weapons and fight this war, because this war is a war against evil. It is a war against those who are committing crimes. This is a war against adharma. and that is your duty to perform this war. So this is how Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna. So here, what we have understood in these six verses so far, six mantras, that abandoning action is not a solution. We must perform all the actions which are required to be done in this life, because we are living as human being, we are required to do certain actions, we must do them. Secondly, the three variety of action, that is yajna, dan and tap, we must never abandon under no circumstances. Those should be performed because those are the essence of life, essence of living. In addition, if other important, and desirable actions should also be performed. But all these actions should be performed without expectation, without attachment, without any outcome of those actions. So this is the essence which has been repeated. He said that in chapter 3 in general terms. He said part of it in chapter 6 also. But then now, in response to the question from Arjuna, he is explaining this. So this is what we should do in our life. We should not abandon yajna, dan and tap. We must perform these karmas. And in addition, whatever other desirable actions are, we should do. Like we have in our Shastras. You see, even if you take the four steps, dharma, arth, kam, moksha. Now they are related here. That every action should be done in accordance to the dharma. That is the principle that this is doable, this is good, this is not going to harm anybody. The intention is to not to hurt anybody, but to do things which are doable, which should be done, which are good. That is one. After that, you earn money. Earning wealth is actually prescribed. Here also, when you do the yajna, then only you will perform dan. If you do not do yajna, you do not earn money, how will you perform dan? Dan cannot be performed. Yajna means, yes, you should engage into your activities of business or whatever method of earning is, but you should engage in that with fair means. You should not do cheating, you should not adopt unfair means, you should not violate the ethics, morality, and the law prevailing at that time. And then you continue to do that. And if you earn something extra, then you should donate it. And if you do something wrong in the process, then you have to do a tap to, overcome or to nullify the bad impact of that particular action, or to get rid of that bad action from your habits. You have to do a tap. So this is what we can understand from these verses, that this is what our duty in life is, and this gives us an essential, what you call teaching, essential teaching, that what we should do to have on day-to-day basis and what we should not do. So this is what we should do and this is what we should not. So this is where Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that yajna, dan or tap kabhi nahi chhodne chahiye. You must perform them, and then you must do other essential activities, but without having any expectation, without attachment, without any desire of outcome. So this is where we will conclude today. This chapter is again giving us very practical hints, and this is a very good practical hints that how we regulate our actions on day-to-day basis. So any action which is leading to conflict means that is against the law of the nature or against the Shastras. Actually, Kabir has also said that whatever you get without any much effort, then that is like milk. When you get something out of some conflict, then that is like water. And when you get something out of a very large conflict by creating a very massive conflict, then it's like blood. So whichever things which are in accordance to the law of the nature and law of the the spiritual thought, then it will not create conflict in the society. It will give you the result without any bloodshed, without any pain, without any trouble for anybody else. And that is what we need to do. We should not do any action which causes trouble in the society, which causes pain to many people, but which is in accordance to the law of nature and law of the spiritual behavior. Thank you.